Welcome back to Brojo Online Podcast. Today I'm going to go a little out of my lane and talk about parenting. I'm not a parenting expert by any means, but I have been involved in the development of adults, and I've seen clear trends as to how they were parented and what that led to in terms of their confidence as adults. And as a result, I have some ideas on what would raise a kid to be a confident kid as opposed to what is likely to kill their confidence when they grow up. Practical tips: encourage, but don't force. So, for example, you must try this one ballet class because I can see that you're interested in dancing and you wouldn't go unless you were pushed a little bit. But if you don't like that class, you can quit. All right, but at least try it. Reverse the advice seeking. They come to you to solve the problem, put the problem back on them. What do you think you should do about it? Encourage self-appraisal. How do you feel about this drawing? Is it one that you want to put on the fridge? Get them to decide for themselves what's right and wrong, what's good and bad. Make them lead. What game do you think we should play next? Like, make them decide things as much as possible for you and the whole family. Give them that kind of seat at the table when it comes to decision making. React slowly. Give the kid a chance to process and figure out their own reaction before you jump in. Unless, of course, there's some severe injury. Let them kind of cry a little bit or process what's happening or be a little upset and confused before you go to them. Even better, let them come to you. Just be available, but don't intervene. Encourage them for setting boundaries. Let them decide whether they hug grandpa or give him a high five or give him a kiss on the cheek. Don't force anything on them. Let them decide what time they want to start drawing and finish drawing. Let them decide if they want to be left alone, that you actually respect that and you don't force your conversation on them. Like, let them learn from a very young age that they can decide what happens to them. There'll be some limits to this. There's some stuff they just got to do, but at least explain it to them. Just say, this is one of those things you don't get to choose. But if possible, you might give them a range of options within that. Like, you've got to eat dinner, but you can decide whether you're going to have gnocchi or potatoes, right? So you can give them some autonomy wherever possible. And of course, when they do set those boundaries, respect them as much as you can. A great one for like long-term health is to respect their eating boundaries. If they say they've finished eating, then let them be finished eating. So long as you're not pumping them full of like sugary snacks throughout the day, if you want them to eat their dinner properly, make sure that they're going to be hungry enough by dinner time that they actually want to eat, and then let them decide when they've had enough. Let them leave some food on the plate. A lot of people have eating problems because they were taught to finish their plate, but a plate is not an accurate measurement of food. Who knows how much food you need right now? Well, your body knows, and if you teach your kid to listen to your body, then they'll never eat too much or too little, right? These kinds of things, when the kid says, I've had enough, stop now, whatever, as long as it doesn't affect their survival or it's not going to severely disrupt your day, respect it. No force is needed. Let them choose. Start to have conversations with them where you make statements and share about yourself rather than just peppering them with questions. 99% of the time, when I see an adult talking to a kid, it's an interview. It's just the adult's asking questions and the kid's answering. Do you remember being a kid? You remember how fucking annoying that is? How you just don't want to be interviewed all the time? But because generally adults see kids as like this different species that they don't relate to, they don't share with them like they would with an adult. Well, you can talk to, you see, kids' favorite adults are always the one who talks to them like they're adults. You notice that? Their favorite uncle or whatever is the one that just talks to them like they're a mate down at the workplace. Kids love it when they're talked to like an adult, when they're respected in their way. And a great way to do this is always use statements. So, I always have a conversation with my daughter at the end of the day about what our favorite parts of the day were. And at first I'll be like, what's your favorite thing from today? And now I start with saying, my favorite thing from today was blah, blah, blah. I just start with a statement and then I leave it hanging and then she'll tell me hers, right? So I do this thing, I'm training myself to not ask her, to just tell her stuff about myself, give her my thoughts, opinions, feelings, what I want, don't want, and then let her respond rather than just interviewing her all the time. Be honest, or at least don't lie. If you want to have a good relationship with your kid, if you want them to be honest themselves, if you want them to know the difference between honesty and deception, make sure you role model honesty as much as possible. It's hard to do, And at those times where you just can't feel like you, and those times where you just feel like you can't tell them the truth, it's just too much, well, then tell them nothing. At least don't lie to them. Don't gaslight them into believing something that's not real just for your convenience. You can say to a kid, look, I don't want to explain myself, or I'm not ready to tell you about that yet. They can have some mystery in them in their lives. That'll be all right. They need to respect that sometimes people don't want to give them information. That's fine. But once you start lying to them, it's very hard to close that door. And the number one tip I'll give you is role modeling. Rather than focusing on your parenting, focus on yourself and imagine that they're watching you, right? That's how they're going to learn most from you. If you watch any sort of parent child dynamic, you'll see that the kid's behavior most reflects the adult's behavior, not the adult's words. I've literally seen parents hit their kids because their kid hit another kid. And they think, what? You yelling at them, don't hit kids, and hitting them is going to lead your kid to be less violent? Like, have you thought this through? All he knows is you were angry and you hit him. That's what he's learning. Anger equals hitting. Your behavior is how they learn. So if you just focus on developing your behavior to something you're proud of, most likely outcome with your kid is they're going to mimic and model that behavior themselves. Be what you want them to be. It's the closest thing you can have to influencing them. And it's a great way to develop yourself. If you're into self development, if you focus on doing this for your kids' modeling, it really helps you hold yourself to account. You might go reaching for that chocolate bar and you see them watching you and go, you know what? I don't want them to see me eating chocolate because I want them to be healthy. And that'll actually stop you eating the chocolate bar far more than if you're on your own. One of the great advantages to having kids when it comes to self development is you've got a really powerful reason for doing it. So try your best to reduce hypocrisy. Look at all the areas where there's different rules for you than there are for them and ask yourself why. Why do I get to eat chocolate and they don't? Why do they get to have to be healthy and I don't have to be? How come it's okay for me to raise my voice to them, but they can't raise their voice to me? How come it's okay for me to question their motives, but I get mad at them when they question mine? Try to reduce the hypocrisy until you're on even terms. I mean, you're still the leader of the family. They're still too young to totally take control of their lives, sure. But you want as close to it as possible. You want as much autonomy on their side as possible. And then as much similarity between the values you follow and the values you expect them to follow as possible. Show your true self, but don't burden them with your struggles. This is a balancing act. Don't treat them like your therapist and dump your depression on them. That's for your therapist. But don't put on a fake smile either. Imagine all emotions are fine so long as the person has a healthy response to them. So your best chance of developing an emotionally healthy kid is to show them that you will have healthy reactions to your emotions. You can explain this to them as you go. You know, my daughter's quite sensitive. She knows when we're feeling sad, and she'll be like, "Why are you sad?" And my answer is going to make a big difference. Now, if I say like, "Oh, because life sucks, man," or "You were mean to me, man," she's going to become anxious around people being sad, right? And her own sadness. She's going to become a people pleaser, try to control me. But if I'm like, I worked too hard and now I'm tired, and so I didn't get what I wanted. But in order to deal with that, I'm just going to sit here and chill. And if you gave me a cuddle, that would be nice too. And just do the same. I'm like, look, sadness is fine. I'm processing it. You can be sad. We can be sad. There's nothing you need to do about it. We can love each other while it happens. This kind of modeling of how emotions should be dealt with. On top of this, you're going to always show that you're working on things. You don't need to present some perfection to them. I remember growing up as a kid thinking adults had everything sorted. I now know they must have been lying to me in some deliberate way because adults do not have everything sorted by any means. Most kids I know are doing better than adults. So you can show that you're not perfect and that you're working on things, and that's actually really inspirational to them. You know, in our family, it's just eating too many treats, you know, even by our standards. Um, And so we'll say to things like, okay, I'm not going to eat this treat. I don't want to. I'm trying to like eat less sugar because daddy's been, getting a bit unhealthy. And it's amazing. My daughter will say, like, out of nowhere, she'll say, we need to cut down on treats, actually. We've had too much this weekend. I'm like, holy shit. That's a sophisticated thing for a kid to say, you know? So you can do this thing where you can just show that you're working on stuff, you're developing it, you're trying to make your life better, and they'll actually pick up from that it's okay to be working on stuff. You don't need to be perfect, but he should also be keeping an eye on things going wrong. Set boundaries that force them to respect you, all right? That they're not allowed to interrupt a conversation that you're having. They're not allowed to come and knock on your door when you're working. They don't get to play with you at exactly the time they want to because you've got something else you got to do first. Allow them to see that they have to let you live your life, that you're not just some buffet that they can come and select anything they want from at all times, because you're modeling they can do that too, especially if you respect when they do it as well. You're showing them what boundary setting looks like. The last point I'll make is you don't need to be perfect because you can't be. There's nobody who's a perfect parent. Slips and lapses are part of it. This does not justify continued poor parenting. This does not mean that anything you think of doing as a parent is a good idea, but you're not going to completely nail it every time. So imagine it's a scale, healthy versus unhealthy, and you just got to keep trying to tip the scale back towards healthy as often as you possibly can. When you see it slipping, try to correct it. That's all you're doing. You're just redeeming yourself at any given moment. Explanations and reparations are good learning experience. It's good modeling. So when you fuck up parenting, talk to the kid about it. Let them know that that one was on you, that that was your bad. I'm not big on apologizing, though that's one way of doing it. I think it's better just make sure they see that you own your mistakes and you repair them, that they don't feel responsible for every piece of pain that happens. Right? If you raise your voice at them, it doesn't matter that they were drawing on the wall. You raising your voice still broke your own standards, and they should know that. So you can say, look, you drawing on the wall, you know that I don't like that, but I also shouldn't have raised my voice to you, okay? Shouting at you was bad. I didn't mean to do that. I'll try to be have a quieter voice next time, okay? But next time I don't want you to write on the wall either. Okay, so if you work on not writing on the wall, you use your paper, and I'll try to stop shouting. Deal? I often do that with my daughter. Like, do we have a deal? We shake on it. And this way I'm letting her know, like, there's a difference between her writing on the wall and me shouting. Like, I was wrong for what I did, she was wrong for what she did, but she's not wrong for what I did. Just remember you're not responsible for their choices, okay? You are their guide, their supporter, their safe place, but you're not their handler, you're not their controller, you're not their mind. You've got to let them become autonomous if you want them to be confident. It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to experience in my life, like letting her be who she wants to be rather than molding her into what I think she should be. But ultimately, I know that's what's best for her because that's what I wish people would do for me. Hope this was helpful. One last time, I'll emphasize that I'm not a parenting expert. This was more opinion based on working with adults and what happened to them as kids, as well as my own meager experience as a parent. But I will say with no false humility that my kid is very confident. All right. I know how to measure confidence and I'm very objective with her because I'm worried that it won't happen. So I'm always looking skeptically to see what's going on. And all the things that I've been talking about, I apply and they seem to be working really well. Now, it could just be got lucky. Could just be she's got a certain personality type and my parenting doesn't make a difference. But I don't believe that. I think that our parenting has been very deliberate. We have lots of conversations, my wife and I, about parenting every day almost. We're talking about what works and what doesn't, how she's looking in terms of confidence and social capability and everything like that. And we adjust according to the information we're seeing. And we share like resources and stuff that we find with each other. We're trying to get this right as best as we can. And it does seem to be working. So I stand by what I've said here today, but I also must emphasize that I am not some qualified expert. So you'll have to take what I say with a grain of salt and figure it out for yourselves, which is me respecting you. Thank you for watching. Until next time. Are you a nice guy or people pleaser who wishes they were more assertive, more honest, and better respected by others? Since 2013, I've been helping people just like you discover their integrity and apply it courageously to build deep and meaningful connections, get respected by others, and become the confident person you've always wanted to be. Imagine being able to speak your mind without worrying what other people will think or worrying that it's the right thing to say, and being able to assertively stand up for yourself and your loved ones. Imagine never feeling the need to apologize for who you are or what you want, and being able to live carefree without shame or the I'm not good enough story in your head. Imagine going to bed knowing that you courageously took every opportunity available to you and you've got no regrets because you always know what you should be doing in every situation. I'm so confident in my ability to help people like you unleash your highest level of self-worth that I give people a free coaching session to test what I'm doing. In this 1 hour session, we will uncover the biggest barrier to your confidence, whether it's an awareness problem, you don't know what you should be doing differently, or it's a courage problem, you know what you should be doing, but you find it too intimidating. I will guide you to make a breakthrough with your behavior to get through that barrier in a powerful way without feeling terrified and without destroying everything you love. I've had some people find this first session so powerful that I never hear from them again simply because they didn't need anything more after that. It launched them into the highest level of confidence that they've ever experienced. And if that's the result you get, I'm good with that. One client put it, this session was more valuable to me than 3 years of therapy combined. So if you're tired of trying to keep everybody happy and you're sick of worrying what other people think of you and you're concerned that your people pleasing and conflict avoidance is going to damage your relationships, then come and have a talk with me. Worst case scenario, you get to experience what it's like to talk with someone who actually understands what it's like to be you. I've lived the nice guy experience for decades. I know it inside and out. I know that pain. Case scenario, and very likely, you will have such a powerful insight into a behavioral change that you can make in the next 24 hours to significantly improve your confidence, relationships, and career. All I ask is that you be honest, open to change, and willing to try something new. Why wait another 10 years to discover confidence when you can do it today? Fill out the brief form below to apply for a trial coaching session. Do this quickly because there are limited spots each month, and then I'll get back to you to book in a time to talk.